Okay, so this page is just giving a little bit of an overview of our core systems. We do have a few systems at the school that we use, and they're all serving a very specific purpose. We've got Sentral, which most of you would have heard about by now. It's been in place for a couple of years. It serves a purpose for both staff and students and looks different for both staff and students. The back end of it, the staff end of it, we create reports and do a lot of wellbeing entries, that sort of thing on there. But from the student point of view, you would use it more for accessing. You can access student reports, students can access their timetables, and administrative type things are on there. Canvas is something I'm going to talk a little bit, or quite a bit about this evening, and it's our LMS, which I'll get into in a moment. SharePoint is one that students don't necessarily need to know all that much about. They can access it. It's essentially an online file management system, and we store all of the files that we use, or most of the files that we use to distribute to students on SharePoint. So Word documents, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. is all done via Office 365 for the most part, put onto SharePoint, and it allows us to create links from Canvas to SharePoint. The benefit of that is we can update documents on the fly. Several staff, students can work on the same document at the same time. It's also redundantly backed up, which means very, very safely backed up and really regularly, so really, really slim chance of losing anything on there. And I'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of cloud-based storage in a little while. The website, most of you would be aware of. The website is our digital shop front in a nutshell, so that's where not just students and parents of the school come to find out information about the school, but also the general public can come to the website to have a look at what it is that we do. It's currently being revamped at the moment, and I think we've got an ETA of next term, hopefully, that will look much better. I've seen the draft versions of it. The new site looks really good and much easier to navigate, which will be good. Facebook, if you've not already joined the HSPA Facebook page, I would recommend that. That's kind of the live news feed, so that's where we put things out on the fly, daily events, etc., photos of students doing things we can put onto Facebook. And then we've got the School Bag app, which hopefully most of you have got as well, and I would recommend getting the School Bag app. That way, that allows us to send notifications out instantly, and you'll get push notifications via your phone, etc. So if you look for School Bag on the Android App Store, the Play Store, or the iTunes Store, and then search for Hunter School of Performing Arts, you can install that on any device that you have. Sentral, just to elaborate on that a little bit more, as I said before, reports, timetable, parent-teacher interview bookings, and Canvas. So along with providing the curriculum, all curriculum resources for your classes, anywhere, anytime, and that is a big thing with LMS, is that anywhere, anytime advantage that's particularly important for a lot of our students with the extracurricular activities that they take on and in and out of school at different times for different commitments. It does provide access to resources and ways of meeting curriculum requirements from remote locations. They receive explicit feedback for assignments through there. There's a whole range of things that I'm going to go into later on of things that they can do on Canvas, large and small group discussions, etc. That bottom point there is one of the most powerful things I think for Canvas and for students, is that auto-generated to-do list and planning. And I'm not sure that enough students, we've told them a lot, but I'm not sure that they're aware of how powerful that is as far as giving exact dates. And when we'll look at some examples of that later on, but the exact dates of virtually every task is written on their dashboard. When they log into Canvas, it comes up as a to-do list in chronological order, so they can say, okay, this is the next thing that's due, and work their way through it. Thanks, Darren. Papercut. What is Papercut? I'm assuming some of you have heard of it. It's a new printing system that we implemented in 2017 with the goal of reducing our environmental footprint and reducing the cost of printing. We've been hugely successful on both of those fronts. There's probably more benefits than costs from the student point of view. Before, it was very difficult for them to print things. They can now print from any printer in the school and from any computer in the school. And essentially the way that it works in a nutshell is they hit print on any computer in the school, and it just sends that job to every printer in the school. And what they do is go to any printer, put in their password, and it releases that job. One of the main ways that it's saved printing for us is that waste of printing. When you're in a situation like this, we've got so many printers and things in the school, it was not uncommon for students and staff to print to printers and not really know where that printer lived or accidentally printed the wrong printer. And if you're talking 30 copies of something, that adds up really, really quickly. That can't happen with Papercut, so when you print, you actually have to go to the printer and release it and get it from the printer for it to initiate, and if you don't do that, the printing just disappears into the ether and never actually gets printed. So we've saved a lot of paper and a lot of money through that system. Each student gets $5 worth of printing credit a year as part of their fees, but they can purchase more credit if they like at any time in lots of $5, $10 or $20. That's from the front office. Office 365 I thought was definitely worth mentioning, and from the point of view of not just the education system, but any of you that are working in any sort of administrative role and beyond now would probably have heard of Office 365. Microsoft have well and truly moved their business into the cloud. It's much less common to work and store files locally on computers, and mostly because of the probability of that work getting lost. If the computer dies, the thumb drive, you lose your thumb drive, all of that kind of stuff. One of the other key benefits with all of the Microsoft suite is the ability to collaborate, and that's one of the real key benefits for us from an education point of view, is 200, 300, 400, 500 students, even if they want to, can all be working on the same document at the same time from different locations, across the world. The department, under the enterprise agreement that we have with Microsoft, supplies every student with Microsoft Office that they can download and use the local version on their computer or use the live version online. To do that, they just need to go to their student portal and access it through the Learning tab, which is all described there. But the Office 365 suite contains things like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, which we all know, OneNote, which is a little bit newer but has been around for a while now, and Sway Forms, which is a way of doing online surveys really easily, and OneDrive, which is storage, and I think it's at least 1 terabyte, and it could actually be 50 terabytes. It's a ridiculous amount of data that students have access to for free that comes as part of being a student of the Department of Education. Again, it's all underneath that enterprise agreement. So when the department rolled out the BYOD system 4 or 5 years ago at least now, they did that with a view to students bringing their own device and having a device they were comfortable with, rather than the devices that they realised it wasn't really a sustainable way to keep doing things, to keep giving out old laptops and expecting students to live with the laptops they were providing. And as a part of that, they decided to give out a whole heap of software as well. Google Apps for Education is another one of those. Google Apps for Education can be found exactly the same way, through the portal, into the Learning tab, and go to the G Suite. Once they log in, they've got access to that suite of apps. Yep. And this is, personally, this one's my favourite. They do get access, all students get access to the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, which is worth quite literally, thousands over the course of the years that they're here. That's Photoshop, and any of you that know what the suite is, it's pretty impressive. That's Photoshop, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Illustrator, the whole lot. Every single Adobe piece of software is available to them to download. I certainly don't recommend that they get the Creative Cloud and download everything at once, because it will fill your hard drive up unless it's massive and it'll bring your computer to a grinding halt. But Photoshop is certainly at the very least one worth looking at and downloading. As far as Premiere Pro and some of those more beefier programs, I suppose, go, it's worth noting that you don't need to go out and spend a fortune on a laptop for that to run. Any subjects that require Premiere Pro and After Effects and those sort of programs run in rooms here at the school, multimedia labs we have now with fairly beefy computers, 16 gigabytes of RAM and bigger screens, and they're actually designed for that. So from a BYOD point of view, I would recommend fairly cheap, to be honest. They're a computer that's going to be carried around and used as almost just a digital notepad. Needs to be able to do desktop publishing and surf the web at the most. Anything else they can do. If they're passionate about filmmaking, sure, then you might want to splash out for a little bit more, but they certainly don't have to from our point of view. It's not an expectation. The website, a couple of key things to point out there. Links to illness and misadventure forms is in the download section, and bell times, info for BYOD, which Dave spent a lot of time this week updating. All of those forms for BYOD have been updated, and it includes links to the, how to get the Adobe software and how to get different devices, whether it's Mac or Windows based, online. So we are really encouraging a lot of that self-help manner of tech support. Certainly Dave's there, but it's much better for the students, in my opinion, if they learn how to sort these things out for themselves, because at the end of Year 12, when they don't have us, they're not necessarily going to have a Dave there at Tuesday lunchtime to help them do it. So the sooner that they get the hang of that self-help method with regard to IT, the better.